Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to Doing Business in Bentonville. My name is Andy Wilson, and I'm the Executive Director of Doing Business in Bentonville, and we have such a great podcast program for you this morning. Oh, my goodness, Deanah Baker is here. I'm my guest. Deanah, welcome to Doing Business in Bentonville.
Oh, thanks, Andy. I'm happy to be here with you.
I know, it's so good. We were just chatting. The last time we did this was on Zoom, and it's great to see you in person, have you in the studio. And well, Deanna, a lot has happened in your life in the last year, and Deanna and I have known each other for years at Walmart, and she's been my guest on doing business in Bentonville multiple times. So now, Deanna, I see that you are president of Deanah Baker Consulting.
Yes, I am.
Okay, tell us about that.
Yes. So I retired from Walmart after 32 wonderful years at the end of July. And, just really quickly figured out that I had too much energy to just stop. And, my love of retail couldn't be stopped. And so, people had suggested, why don't you consult? I'm like, well, I'll give it a whirl. So 10 months ago, I opened Deanah Baker Consulting, which I know is highly original as a name of a company, but with my unique spelling, I knew I wouldn't have to worry about someone else having it. So that was, I sensed, okay, that's what it's going to be.
Right.
And so for the last 10 months, I've really been enjoying a variety of opportunities with different suppliers, brand owners, and it's been very, interesting, and I've been very engaged with actually broadening my network of, some were with suppliers I've known for decades, but yet it also opened up opportunities to businesses, suppliers that I would have never met before.
Right.
So I've fully enjoyed it.
It's exciting. Such a large world out there. And, and you're focused on one thing for all those years, or one company, I would rather say, which is a huge umbrella. And that's a good thing about Walmart. We got to do a lot of wonderful things under one umbrella, and that was exciting. But what I want to do, everyone, of course, our focus today is, as always, is omnichannel. We're going to get to that, I promise you. But you have to have just a bit more information about this wonderful person sitting across from me. And, Deanna, talk about your 30 years at Walmart, and the things you've done, and you've done many things. Share with us some of that what I call this transformational leader, which you are. Talk about that with us.
Well, a merchant in and of itself is, you're responsible for the P&L for a category of business, and, you advance it, grow market share, and that's wonderful, and you hone your skills on that. And, you have to be a curious person by nature just to do that for so many years, and staying engaged and, relevant. But when it comes to transformation, what I also stepped back and saw, Andy, was that I was able to really forge great business relationships and, frankly, friendships with suppliers, out in the business world. And they educated me as well as internally my education from Walmart and those associates. And then, when you step back and you grow as a leader, you're then responsible for educating, training, and developing more leaders, for the company, for the next generation. And that was super fulfilling for me. And I've got lifelong friendships, from that time there. Transformation also, nothing stands still. And so beyond product, all the advancements that were made in order to become omnichannel, we had to really move some big boulders.
Right.
RFID, or, radio frequency identification, was one that we, had to really study first and then brought through the business. It took a couple of years to get it fully, loaded and turned on and able to be used for apparel. But now, when you talk about transformation, it was such a success, it's been added to GM categories.
Right.
Other tires and other businesses are benefiting from that.
Right.
So that's a transformational thing, and that just didn't exist a few years ago, just as one example.
Right. I think that's great. And, one of the things that, we were so fortunate to grow up at Walmart. I can say that. I felt like I did. I know you did. And, and we just got to do some really challenging, wonderful things. But, we also got to work with wonderful leaders, great men and women that we got to work with every day, that helped us and was great mentors. And of course, we got to work with Sam Walton and David Glass and Don Sokras, Doug McMillan, so many. It's just a long list with that, but so many great leaders. And one of the things that I learned, that was consistent at Walmart was change. And I think we had a low resistance to change, and I think that helps create transformation, don't you?
Absolutely, it changes the constant.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, I heard Doug say that at the shareholders meeting recently.
Yeah.
And the world does not stay still, and the competition does not stay still.
Right.
And, that's all for the benefit of the customer.
Right.
So you have to be nimble and understand in your core what shouldn't change, which, is a lot of a company's culture.
Yeah.
And how you do things, with respect shouldn't change. There's every other card is on the table.
Yeah.
Right? Because the world demands it.
Right. It does. And, we I think the last time that we visited on our podcast was during the pandemic, somewhere during that latter part of the pandemic. And we were really then at that point, there was a lot of change taking place. And I remember our conversation that we had, and I think at that point, I think the Vice President of the United States called you up or something and asked you to do something. Well, that was a great story. I was looking at my notes, and I had a note of that. So when you got the call from Vice President, tell me how that went. Tell us how that went.
I've never had an out-of-body experience, but that might have come close for me. It was literally April 1st, April Fool's Day, right?
Yeah.
I got a call from Doug McMillan, who was touring a warehouse with Vice President Pence at the time, and he got a call from President Trump.
Okay.
And everyone was just panicked because of the shortage of PPE gowns.
Right.
And they asked, Doug if Walmart could help, procure, produce, get our hands on some.
Yeah.
And so he called me.
Yeah.
And so, yes, that challenge was one that was completely out of my wheelhouse, but I was on the hook to deliver it, and the country needed me.
That's
So
right.
it was definitely a pressured time in my life. But wow, to be able to do that for our country and be there when they needed us was quite an honor.
Right, it was. Well, thank you for all your work and getting us helped us get through that ordeal. And that leads me to one other piece I want you to talk about yourself a bit, and because I want all of our guests to check you out on LinkedIn and check your company out and what you do, and see your past, because so much our past is what creates what we recreate today and who we are and what we do and our passion. And I know you had, looking back at your career at Walmart, especially, you had some really great accomplishments. And this is not bragging on yourself, but I think it's really anchoring to our audience who you are and the kind of person you are and the focus you have in your life and business. So when I was going and doing some research, share a few of those things that you and your team did at Walmart, if you don't mind.
Well, if you go back to 2017 till I left in 22, there were a series of strategic initiatives that, again, one thing led to the next, which ultimately brought us to omnichannel, that I'm very proud of. But, those strategies, sometimes I'll hear people talk about a strategy and it's only a year long. Well, that's great. But to really make some big shifts, some, seismic moves in the business, it takes a lot of forethought and a longer runway. And you may not know, what the end goal is, but over that time, the way you get there will probably have to be rechecked and shifted slightly.
Okay.
So, it started with, in 2017, we had too many SKUs, and, in the quest to drive sales, we had added more assortment to the floor than we had real estate to properly hold it with clarity. And so it started with, a big cleanup, and it was a 35% SKU reduction, which, to a merchant, it takes your breath away. You're like, how can I do the sales with less? But that we did. And that led us to every item having a home on the floor, every rack, which then took us to RFID, which told us exactly how many size red small T-shirts you had on the floor.
Right.
Well, guess what that did? It gave us confidence as an organization to show the inventory to the customer on their cell phone to say, not only do we have the red small T-shirt that you want, it's located on rack T1 in your local store. So all of those things, connecting the dots, I am very proud of, because that takes a lot of tenacity and patience and drive to see a long-term goal through. Also happy that in 21, we added some great national brands to the assortment, like Reebok, Justice, U.S. Polo Association. Those you don't get unless your store is, merchandised well and conducive to customers seeing that brand owner's brand in a good light.
Right.
So now we have national brands because of that original strategy.
Right. Wonderful. Well, that's great. That really leads us to our topic today, is omnichannel. And, you have such vast experience from the merchant side, the store side, and what you talked about, the supplier side. And, we would love for you to do today is let's talk about that vast knowledge. Let's talk about those areas, because one of the things that all of us are working on is learning omnichannel. It's fairly new to retail, and Walmart has committed to it. I know at least 5 years ago. I think I heard at a shareholders meeting when Doug talked about it, and then you and I had the opportunity to attend a Walmart alumni meeting recently last year. And when Doug McMillan, the CEO of Walmart, got up and started talking about the Walmart of the future, where did he go? He went down omnichannel pretty fast, didn't he?
He did.
He began to talk about that. And, as we looked at doing business in Bentonville, I remember that moment when Doug was talking. I stood up and asked a question, which I hardly ever did in those meetings. I just wanted to listen and learn. But I left that meeting, and we were in this discussion about looking at doing business in Bentonville and reinventing it to some degree. And when I left that meeting, I thought, I know what it is. It's omnichannel. Because that's the future of retail. And we're both, like you said, we're so passionate about retail. So let's go there now. And I know that you have thought through this a lot. And so why don't we go there, and I know you have established some great questions and some content around that. So let's just go there, and you share with us your thoughts around omnichannel from those perspectives.
Sure. So, in 2020, Walmart merged e-commerce and the brick-and-mortar teams, merchant teams. And so suddenly our teams were omni, which at the beginning, really we weren't. We were just trying to bring the two operating models closer together. And that was a lot of, blocking and tackling, educating. If you were a brick-and-mortar merchant, you quickly had to become a student of e-commerce, and vice versa. If you came from our e-commerce team, understanding 4,000 stores for apparel. And so there was a lot, like I said, blocking and tackling, and just cross-pollination of knowledge of how you manage it. The P&Ls, how they're run are differently. And that's all internal into, the organization. So that's one way to think about becoming omni. But the way I wanted to focus on it today, Andy, was from a customer standpoint. What does it mean to be omni? Because, John Furner told us more than once that our customer should not see our org chart, meaning the customer shouldn't care the inner workings of how we do it in Walmart. All the busyness and the complexity and friction needs to be, behind the curtain. We deal with that, not the customer. And so today I just thought of some questions as a retailer or a brand owner, and what I would think about as far as solving all of the issues and making it seamless for a customer.
Okay, great. Great. Let's go there. I'm so excited.
Okay, great.
Okay, I'm just going to tell you, I'm sort of sitting on the edge of my chair to listen to you as we go down this path. Wonderful.
Well, this is not an exhaustive list. Okay.
No, but it's going to be good.
As my family would attest, I am a shopper, right? There's usually a box on my front door. It might be a personal problem at this point, but I enjoy it so much. So, I think all of us are customers, and the first thing we can do is apply our own filter of what we expect and who does it well today, what brands or retailers, and who doesn't, or what's the disconnect. So in terms of apparel, that's where I'll focus today, but it can be applied to, to any category, honestly. In regards to apparel, is your brand and I'll include retailers as the brand, right? Because Walmart's a brand. Are you known for high fashion? Or are you known primarily for mainstream key items? You can tell me both. That's fine too. But knowing what you're known for in the thoughts and hearts of the customer is, I think, the place you have to start. Because you want to ensure that your store experience and your web or app experience reflect that same personality or same DNA. And I'm sure you have too. You can shop apps or websites that have a store presence, and sometimes they just don't look like they're from the same mother. Right. I think that's important for authenticity and how you show up as an omni retailer.
Right. Does any one company come to mind when you say someone that does it well?
There's several, and I'm going to, for different things.
Okay.
I won't say that I feel like everyone has, or someone has it all together on all fronts.
Okay.
Because I do think, this is something that's on a continuum that people are perfecting as we go, and we learn more and we make adaptations. But I'll certainly give you some of the ones that I feel are best in class.
I really want your expertise.
Okay,
perfect.
Great.
All right.
Here's another question. Is the customer very budget conscious, where you want to lead with price? Or are they fashion conscious, where actually leading with price could be to your detriment?
Got it.
Right? Because if I am looking for something that's fashion or adding to my wardrobe, I don't necessarily first care about what it costs.
Right.
I want the right item.
Right.
And then I want it to be a fair value.
Yes.
Right. So understanding that decision tree in both channels, again, I think is very important.
Good.
So here are some of the other things. Do the photography backgrounds and the models being used reflect the aesthetic of the items or the brand's personality? Again, your brain as a customer, look at that next time. You might say, this just doesn't feel right. Well, why doesn't it feel right to you? If it's a brand you love, and on the PDP, product display page, why are you feeling uneasy that it doesn't match what you've seen in the store environment? Or maybe the store environment's not right and the app is amazing. Again, where's the disconnect? But when I go into stores today, Andy, I think there are elements that they could benefit from a digital experience. Definitely. We saw that at Walmart. And then if I'm looking at e-commerce under that microscope, there are ways it could be enhanced from the traditional store experience. So many customers love to shop. It's an emotional experience, and they love to browse. Whereas, traditionally e-commerce has not been able to replicate that yet.
Right.
So happy to go into that with more detail of how I think that can.
Yeah, I think we would love to hear that, because your questions are just so good. So I know you're going to keep going. But I think, as you come back and you give us suggestions and recommendations, I think that'd be perfect for our guests today. So good. This is really good. And, as you are doing this, I will tell you, there's companies flowing through my head that I shop, mainly cycling, and but stores and webs. And I will tell you, you're right. I'm thinking through so much of the disconnect.
Yes.
Unfortunately, is what I'm thinking about right now. So,
and I think as merchants and retailers, we can kind of become desensitized because we're worried about the nuts and bolts of everything working well behind the scenes.
Right.
That if you can step back as the ultimate consumer, I think it just puts a different lens on it for all of us.
Right. I want to ask you a question, and I don't want you to cut you off, but in Sam Walton, I remember him talking to us about this, but does the supplier and the retailer have the same customer?
They should.
They should, shouldn't they?
Mm-hmm.
But I remember having a conversation on a Friday meeting at some point where we were talking about, and I remember the supplier. I won't call the name. They're very large, but we're having a discussion on a Friday morning management meeting, talking, or in one of our merchandise meetings on Friday, that the supplier felt like Walmart was a customer, and Walmart said we have the same customer, and so do you still, as you go through it, is that still true for you in your thoughts and your recommendations?
Even more so. When I talk to suppliers, they're there also, not just what they're selling to a buyer, but they're there as a resource for the buyer. So if the buyer can appropriately share the part of the strategy with their supplier partner, that supplier partner can then think on behalf of the merchant with what that customer is wanting, and it makes suggestive ideas that could improve what the buyer's challenged the supplier to do.
Got it.
So, sharing a little bit of each other's strategies appropriately, I think you've just then enlisted the help of your supplier partners to help you achieve what your customer wants.
Right.
And so, again, you both are trying to serve, ultimately, the person that you hope is going to buy your product.
Right. Okay, good. This is great. Keep on going.
Okay.
This is awesome.
So, again, the answer to all of these is it this? Have you achieved the same goal for both stores and your e-commerce website? And so here's my questions. As a customer, where do I find what I'm looking for? That's equally important at store level as it is on your website, right? If you can't find it, so is your navigation as clear as it can be and intuitive on, e-commerce? In stores with clarity, does the customer know the structure of how you've set up your sales floor, and so they can easily help themselves find what they're looking for quickly? Because, time is obviously a currency today for our customer. What exactly am I buying would be another question. And this is for apparel in regards to fabric weight, the hand feel of the fabric. If you think about something in the cycling world, okay, let's say it's a bike short. How much compression does it have? How well does it stretch and recover?
Right.
Online, are you getting those questions answered for you well, or is it more of just a trial and error? It's important in both channels to give the information in the copy, in videos, any way you can to convey what they're about to buy.
Right.
So that's another one.
Good.
How does it fit? Do you have accurate specs listed on online, I will say, because so many people, me included, probably you can be in a store environment and you want to know more about that item, or you're checking a price. You look it up online.
Right.
While you're standing there at the rack.
Exactly.
Right? So
scan the QR code.
Yeah. So you're connecting there in the store as a customer. You need accurate specs that reflect that garment.
Right.
So that you can help the customer make a good choice. And by the way, it'll help your returns go down. Right.
Right. Correct.
Is the value worth the price? How can that be conveyed online through videos, attributes that are listed, detailed images, and on the stores through hang tags? So you asked me who does some of these components well. I think Lululemon has the best hang tag. They tell you, it says why we made this, and it talks you through the attributes of that product. I love it. I don't think they do such a great job telling you about their leggings and the difference in their fabrics online. Right. And so give and take. I talk about videos that are embedded as one of the images on a PDP page of an item. I think Tory Burch does a great job of that. So you can see there's still images up close, far away, on model, whatever. But then they have one video where the model comes across the camera, and you can see the garment on body and the movement of it. Does that skirt swing? Is it flowy? Is it more structured? Suddenly you have more insight than just a still shot.
Right.
So I think they do that well. And then my last example for great content of attributes would be Nordstrom's. one of their videos on an item's page is almost like a one-on-one with one of their store merchandisers. And they'll hold up like a shoe. I'll use this as the example. And they talk about the attributes of that shoe and why you would want that shoe. I have bought just for that video before.
Right.
Gave me confidence to buy an item.
Sure.
And then, of course, we can't forget ratings and reviews.
Right.
Ratings and reviews are critical.
They are.
I have almost hit the send, or the buy button, and then heard, or read a review that made me pause.
That's right.
And I took it out of my basket.
I actually did not make a buying decision yesterday based on the reviews. When I was reading the reviews, I was purchasing something online, and I always look at the reviews, and as further I got, the worse it got. And I said no. It was not. The value did not. The price and the value at that point. And it was a decision based on reviews. So you're so right. All this is omnichannel today. This is how we shop today, in store, online, or wherever. This is the way customers are doing it. It's exciting times, actually, isn't it?
It is, and their expectation is the same regardless of channel. They don't want to be concerned with. They just want you to be there, ready, how and when they want to shop.
Right.
And so I think all these questions, you just have to ask for both channels. And are they connected? Are they clear? And do they look like they are of the same company?
Right.
Between both.
Perfect.
To show up with authenticity.
Good.
Now, I come from primarily a store background, but there are definitely wonderful things that should be in a store environment today that modernize it. There's innovation out there that should be taken advantage of. And so I would love, if you're okay with me moving on to what those things are.
I would love for you to do that. And because, again, this is, as we said earlier today, online is not just omnichannel anymore. Like you said at the very beginning, the integration of the brick and mortar, if you will, the online experience, all of that is under this umbrella called omnichannel. So they're connected today, integrated today. They must be, especially if you have brick and mortar. That has to be integrated. And so please continue.
Sure. So I talked earlier about RFID and to enable accurate inventory and even item placement. So, everyone walks in the store, they've got their smartphone, they want to know where their item is located. They can now do that through an app, which speeds up their buying process. So that's technology, digitally driven, tech-enabled, that, again, helps the customer in a store environment. Secondly, detailed product information online for items that are bought in store. Just because you're going to run it through the register there in person doesn't mean they haven't checked that item online.
Right.
So the accuracy has to be there, so that they can make that purchase in store. Digital signing is super cool versus the old standard print, put it up. Well, number one, you have to make sure that it's up to date and that when it needs to come down, it does come down. Whereas a digitally driven sign can be changed quickly. Right?
Absolutely.
And what if your digital messages that you've planned for and created the content for are the exact timing and the same themes, seasonal events, item launches as what's on the app? Right? You could quickly change them on the same day for a launch in store and online.
Good.
So I love how nimble that is to be able to do that. And then lastly, BOPIS, or, the acronym for Buy Online, Pick Up in Store. That's expected today, right? It is. And again, that's digitally driven technology that allows the customer to purchase how and when they want to shop. And so that's how I think the stores are changing and will continue to change. Flip side, e-commerce, how do they benefit from the traditional store experience? Because purchasing in store is also here to stay.
Right.
The beauty is the two working together.
Right.
So,
and this is the competitive advantage, I think, too, the beauty and the competitive advantage of retailers today to have both. And, we're seeing that. we're seeing that, develop today. And I think the transformation, and that's what you're talking so much about today, is the transformation, is that, you can be an online retailer only, but when you have the brick and mortar and the online, it's a powerful format. No question.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So talk to us about the store.
Well, so, how do you bring the store goodness to e-commerce? And, some people do like to get what they want, get in, get out. I'm not one of those. It's an enjoyment for me. It's an experience. It's entertainment. It's a lot of those things, I think, for many people. And so how do you bring that same enjoyment and let people spend some time online? And I talked about videos. I talked about how I'm a fan of Tory Burch's videos that are embedded. That's honestly replicating some of what you get in store if you tried on an item, right? Or you ask a sales associate to help you, like Nordstrom's in that example. That person could easily show you the shoe and tell you the attributes of it. So those two things obviously are mimicking some of the store experiences online. But I've often thought, Andy, okay, new brands are going to launch. There are going to be some great new ideas that come out. And how does a customer get to know a new brand if it's not in brick and mortar? Because there are fewer storefronts than there used to be pre-COVID.
Right.
And so I thought about what an advantageous place to be for stores that have a brick and mortar and an e-commerce presence. You could have a new digital brand launch, just strictly online, but then take a handful, whatever your definition of handful is, let's say a couple hundred stores even, and have a shop-in-shop experience in some of your brick and mortar locations. And again, you can do that because online you can tell that customer, if you like to visit in person, here are our locations where you can find the product, touch and feel, experience it for yourself, try it on even. Right. So you could launch and then use the stores to help support that brand launch online. Exactly. Right? Seasonal digital stories, I think, are important. I know at Walmart for certain if it was Halloween or Christmas or Valentine's Day, Mother's Day, Father's Day, those are big events for a customer.
Right.
How do you get them to start considering shopping online for those events as well? And again, it's tying in with the timing of the store experience to online so that they can also think of the app or the website second nature when it comes to back to school shopping, getting my Halloween T-shirt, ready to go trick-or-treating, things like that. So I believe that offers an ability to bring more traffic to your website.
Exactly.
There is one piece of technology that I love, and many retailers have this now and brands, it's called Wear It With technology. And let's say I find a blouse that I really like, and underneath it, we'll have it's like suggested selling of different outfits with different things you could purchase to go with that top.
Right.
So suddenly, if I love that top, but maybe I don't have enough confidence to really build a whole outfit, it'll show you it would look fantastic with this pair of pants, the shoe, belt. Here's your handbag and your hair accessory. Yeah. So that's suggestive selling, just like in a store environment that you might see on a mannequin, right, or with a sales associate, that can then build the basket online. Again, it's in the traditional store experience. It's been replicated online.
Right.
And then I don't know exactly where this is going, but it's probably going to be done tomorrow at the speed of innovation. But, with everything that's being said about augmented reality, how long until I can shop online and it can be as easy as me walking through a store myself and going up to a fixture and picking up an item I love, and then browsing across this virtual store, to build my own outfit, just like I was there in person. Yeah, it's coming.
I think it could be coming time we release this podcast.
I mean, not. Maybe it already is, and I just, I'm 10 minutes behind or something.
Well, no, AI is absolutely impacting us in an amazing way, and there's some really great things it's doing. And so that'll be exciting.
Well, if it can make me feel like I'm on a roller coaster, but for certain it can make me feel like I'm in a department store. So just those are things that I think that's how the customer shops, right? And if she or he feels like going into a store, great. If they really like the the clean shopping experience on e-commerce, great. Yeah. But just make sure that both of your channels feel like they are of the same entity on all fronts.
Good.
And that, to me, is a customer lens that we can all apply to our business.
Good. Perfect. You have given us great advice. You've asked us great questions for us to improve our omnichannel experience. I mean, if I was a retailer or supplier today, I know what I would do. And I would take these questions that, of course, many of our guests are making notes, but these will also be available in an article that we will publish along with our podcast. But I would take these questions, I would roll my sleeves up, and I would go to the store if you have brick and mortar, or I would go to my team if you don't on the online, and I would ask my team these questions, and because they will only make you better retailers and definitely satisfy the customer at the end. So, Deanna, these are wonderful. You spent a lot of time with us. These are awesome. Thank you.
Like I said, I'm a shopper. I'm a shopper.
Okay. I thank you, Deanna. Thank you so much. It's so great to have you here in person. It's great to see you. I want to thank you for the impact that you had with Walmart and all the customers, all the things you've done. And I want to also congratulate you on the future. I can't imagine what you're going to be doing, but I know it will be great. And I want you to know you're such a wonderful guest at doing business in Bentonville. While I have you here, I'm just going to have to ask you this, and so get your commitment. But you got to come back, okay? Because you have to come back. Because I want to know. We all want to know what Deanah Baker Consulting is going to be doing, and the impact that you'll be making on suppliers and your clients in the future. And I know that you're a continual learner, and you will be learning and developing these great ideas. So will you please come back and share with us?
I would love it. I would love it. And as long as you've got hot coffee, you had me at hello. But Andy, no, you're a joy to talk to, and I absolutely would come back.
Well, okay. I want to thank our guests for joining us today. And, as I said earlier, doing business in Bentonville, our focus is omnichannel. Today, you've got some very, very practical things to go do to help your business and help your customers have a better shopping experience. Now, you can find us at doing business in Bentonville.com. Our web address is dbbnwa.com, and you can check out all of our podcasts on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, wherever you go for your podcast. We're there, so please check us out there. So, Deanna Baker, thank you. Thank you so much. I just hope this next chapter, you and your family, I know it will be awesome. So thank you.
Thank you
Best
so
to you.
much. Thank you for the invitation.
Yes. Okay. Well, you're always welcome to come here. Thank you all. Thank you for listening. Have a wonderful day. Again, my name is Andy Wilson, and please continue to join us on our future podcasts. Thank you very much. Goodbye.